Welcome to Reddit Stories, where OP's mother-in-law is excluding her from a family vacation. Am I the jerk for hanging up on my mother-in-law after she booked a family holiday that excluded me? I, 30 female, have been dealing with some heavy health problems this year. I've been in and out of the hospital getting infusion treatments. Some weeks, I feel like I'm barely upright. Through all of it, my husband has been my rock. He goes to appointments with me. He helps me track my meds. He makes sure that I eat when my appetite disappears. He's shown up for me in ways that I didn't even know how to ask for. Last week, before things got this bad, we moved states because his parents asked us to. They've always called themselves a micro-family since there are only 4 of them. Just his mom, his dad, him, and his brother. They wanted everyone to stay close. His brother had recently gotten engaged and talked about having kids within a few years. His future in-laws lived close by, and his parents said that they wanted to help once the baby arrived. Then they asked if we'd consider moving too, since the whole micro-family could stay together. We thought, why not? As long as we can find jobs equal to what we had. And it actually worked out. We found jobs in the city about an hour and a half from his parents. It also gave me some comfort since my own childhood was full of mistreatment and I'd gone no contact when I left home at 18. The move meant that I didn't have to worry about running into them anymore. But since the move, his parents have not visited us once, except for a quick hour after we bought our house. 1 hour. They stopped in, looked around, complimented a few things, then rushed out because they said they wanted to beat traffic. Meanwhile, we've driven to their house more than 15 times, and it's an hour each way. Lately, the drive wipes me out. I'm not supposed to overexert myself. My immune system is fragile. But even when my husband has asked them for help or to come over for a short visit, they always have excuses. They're both retired. They're always home. Still, they never come. That brings me to what's happening now. My mother-in-law and my husband share a birthday. They called him one day and said that it would be fun if the whole family took a week-long trip for both birthdays and combined it with Thanksgiving. He immediately told her that he'd have to check with me because of my treatment schedule and because he actually has a job. She said it was probably best if I stayed home anyway to rest while everyone else went. That was her phrasing, that it was best if I didn't go. My husband immediately told her no. He said he wasn't leaving me at home alone while I'm sick. He also asked if we could postpone until after my treatment rounds. Maybe do something local and simple. Something that didn't involve me sitting alone during the holidays while everyone else had a family vacation. That's when she dropped it on him. She admitted she had already booked a resort 3 hours away. She said she spent thousands and that if we didn't go, we'd ruin Thanksgiving and her birthday. He asked why she booked something without checking with us. She said it was the only week his brother was free. That was the moment it clicked. She never intended to include me. She might not have intended to include him either. The whole plan revolved around the brother's schedule. It felt like she had planned the trip knowing it would put my husband in an impossible position. Either he would go without me or he'd get guilt-tripped for ruining the holiday. I was tired and emotionally drained. I was done with the one-sided effort. I asked my husband if I could talk to her. He handed me the phone. I kept my voice calm, maybe too calm. I told her, "Please don't cancel your vacation. I really hope you have such an amazing time on your birthday that you forget we're even there, because we won't be. Bye." Then I hung up. My husband took the phone and put it in his pocket. He told me that he had no notes and we carried on with our day. Now my mother-in-law, father-in-law, and brother-in-law are calling non-stop. They've left messages saying I was rude and disrespectful. They want me to apologize. They say I overreacted and I don't understand family. So, am I the jerk for hanging up on my mother-in-law after she booked a family holiday that didn't include me? Not the jerk. Time to sell the house and move far away, seriously. You two need to put the house on the market and start fresh somewhere these people can't yank you around. If they want you close only when it's convenient, that's just selfish of them. I have a feeling that mother-in-law is very self-centered, is willing to upset other people, but gets super angry if she's on the other end and never apologizes for anything. Just a wild guess. Update. My husband and I have continued receiving voicemails from his mom and his brother. They accuse me of being manipulative, dramatic, disrespectful. They say I'm isolating him. They say I need to apologize or else the family bond will be broken forever. We've now blocked them on every platform. One of the last messages they sent said that they knew something was wrong with me because I have no family. To answer why we moved in the first place, his family always came across as close. They still take annual trips and spend all holidays together. His brother had just gotten engaged and talked about having kids soon after the wedding. We were excited. My husband's future niece or nephew would be the first baby on either side in 30 years. His brother's friends live close. His future in-laws live close. His parents said they wanted to be close so they could help out when the baby came along. But now, with everything happening, we've started reevaluating. We talked about moving again, but it doesn't feel possible right now. I'm still in treatment. It took 2 months of waitlisting just to get in with the infusion clinic. My work covers 100% of medical bills. That's unheard of. If we moved, I'd have to start over. I'd need new specialists, new insurance approvals, and a new job that could handle medical accommodations. It would take months, maybe longer. It could even make my condition worse. So for now, we're staying. And the silver lining is that we know for sure my in-laws won't be dropping by. Our neighborhood is gated and security doesn't let anyone through unless they're on the list. They aren't anymore. My husband and I have accepted that his family's priorities have shifted. They've chosen who matters to them, and we're simply adjusting. We plan to create our own holiday traditions now. We talked about it last night. Maybe a small Thanksgiving picnic at a lake, or a quiet road trip, or even a future cruise once my immune system allows it. Thank you to everyone who reached out. Also, many of you said it, and you're right. My husband is pretty hot. Your in-laws didn't exclude you. They tried to erase you. They wanted your husband to play along so they could pretend you don't exist. I'm proud of both of you for shutting that door. Build your own family. Blood doesn't make people loyal. Actions do. This was never about a holiday. Your mother-in-law expected obedience. When she didn't get it, she escalated. When she realized you wouldn't bend either, she went for the lowest blow that she could. Blocking was the right move. Heal, rest, and create holidays with people who actually like you. Booking a whole vacation while pretending your daughter-in-law doesn't even exist is unhinged. That's not planning, that's plotting. And the "you stay at home and rest" line wasn't concern. That was her trying to wrap exclusion in a Hallmark card. Then she drops the "I already spent thousands" like it's a trap instead of a trip. Good thing OP's husband didn't fall for it. You don't reward someone for writing your spouse out of the family picture. I, 30 female, caught my husband who's 31 in an affair, and I don't know how to move forward. I'd had this uneasy feeling for a while. Little shifts and things I kept brushing off because I didn't want to believe my own husband would ever do something like this to me. Back in April, things changed between us. He started avoiding intimacy. When I leaned in to kiss him, he'd pull back or say he was tired. When we sat on the couch together, he started turning his body away from me instead of toward me. His tone of voice got harder to read. His energy felt different. It was like living next to someone who was slowly walking away from you. The person he was pulling away toward was someone I knew and trusted, one of our good friends. She was at our house a few weeks ago. She texted me often. She talked to me like she was checking in on how I was doing. She pretended to be a support. I found out in the most ordinary moment. I rolled over in bed one night and saw his phone light up. He and she were having a Snapchat conversation. She sent a message saying she wished she could be there holding him, and he replied by joking about me. He summarized that I'd tried to seduce him the night before and he mocked it. Seeing that broke something in me. Not even the affair itself at first, but the way he talked about me, like I was an inconvenience. I confronted him and he admitted everything. He didn't stumble or deny it. He just said lockdown had been stressful. He said something in him had changed. Then he told me he didn't want to work things out. He said that in his heart, he now thought of me only as a friend. When I reached out to the other woman's husband, he confronted her and got a different truth. She said they had kissed months earlier, back in February. They were already heading down that path long before any lockdowns, long before things felt cold in my marriage. The week before they kissed, I was celebrating Valentine's Day with my husband. He bought us a nice bottle of wine for our anniversary. We were sitting together, planning what our next year might look like. The whole time, he was moving towards someone else. I keep thinking about how happy we used to be. We laughed and had fun. We did everything together. We were perfect. I loved that life. I thought he felt the same. It's hard not to look back at all of it and wonder if I missed signs or if he simply changed without warning. Now I'm stuck in this house with memories in every corner and a future I don't recognize. I don't want to leave my house, but everywhere in it, I see him. We've only been married for a year. I feel like he took so much from me, then walked away without even trying to fix anything. I was laid off last month, so I have more free time than I want. Too much time to think. Too much time to replay every moment and wonder if I was pathetic for trying so hard, for being the only one holding on. I've been cheated on in every relationship I've ever had. He was the one person I thought I could trust. He was supposed to be my forever. Therapy is booked, but I don't know what to do with myself until then. I don't know how to start moving forward. I'm really sorry you're going through this. No one deserves to be blindsided like that. You're not crazy and you're not weak. Your husband made choices that have nothing to do with your worth. You cared, you tried, and you trusted. That's not something to regret. Healing won't be instant, but the first step is letting yourself accept that none of this was your fault. He stepped out. He lied. He hid things. He didn't even try to fix it. That says everything about him and nothing about you. Lean on your therapist, your support system. Be kind to yourself in every small way that you can. You don't have to make any big decisions right now. You can take this slowly. What he did was selfish and cowardly. Leaving you without a conversation, without effort, without respect, that's not what a real partner does. It's okay to grieve the person that you thought he was, but keep in mind that the real him is the one who hid things, mocked you, and replaced you before even leaving you. You have every right to feel hurt, but don't lose sight of the fact that you deserve someone who chooses you fully. Update 5 months later. First, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. Back in August, I felt like my world had collapsed. Reading all the support did something I didn't expect. It helped me start to believe that maybe I didn't deserve what happened. It was important to me to make this update because I need to tell anyone who's currently going through the same thing, it gets better. You will get so much better. I've only had one actual conversation with my ex since everything unfolded by his move. It lasted maybe 5 minutes and sounded flat, robotic, and detached. I've heard through others that he cries to people about ruining his life, but he's never once come to me with an apology or even an explanation that made sense. I used to want that closure, but at this point, I don't care. He and the other woman are still seeing each other. If anything, they deserve each other. I don't say that bitterly. I say it with peace in my heart. As for me, things are so much better than they were. I moved to a small, walkable city and gave myself a dream apartment. It's warm, cozy, and quiet. I decorated it exactly how I wanted, and sitting in it feels like breathing fresh air after months underwater. I've been exploring new restaurants and doing fun things without guilt. In my marriage, I was the breadwinner, and he'd make me feel bad about wanting to spend money on anything enjoyable. Now I treat myself, and I don't feel selfish for doing it. I've also dipped a toe into dating again. It's been a mix of underwhelming dates from apps and one person I've clicked with more than expected. It's early and slow, which is exactly how I want it. What dating has taught me so far is that I'm a catch. I don't need to settle ever again. Therapy has helped immensely. My therapist is proud of me. I'm proud of me. I can see now that being divorced isn't a failure. My ex failed. He walked away. I didn't. I survived and rebuilt. I wake up without that heavy weight on my chest. I look forward to my days again. The holidays were even peaceful and fun. To anyone in a similar moment, it gets better. Slowly, but then suddenly. Update 2, 5 years later. Wow, I can't believe this happened over 5 years ago now. I still get messages asking how my life turned out after all of that. It's wild to think how much time has passed. In some ways, it feels like what happened to someone else. The good news is things can turn out so much better than you think. First, where's my ex-husband now? I haven't spoken to him since September of 2020, and he still follows me on Instagram and watches all my stories. I've thought about blocking him, but a small part of me doesn't mind letting him see how good my life is now. He married the affair partner after a whoopsie baby. I'm pretty sure they had another child later on. They both ended up losing their jobs as teachers. When he brought her into his school, the entire staff already knew about the affair. They eventually moved to a small town because things got uncomfortable. Last I heard, she was sending long and unhinged rants to his former best friend about not including them in get-togethers or allowing my ex-husband to be a groomsman in his wedding. But enough about them, because they already took up way too many pages in my story. My life now looks nothing like the life I had when I wrote the original post, and that's a good thing. Moving to Richmond, Virginia was one of the best choices I've ever made. I bought a house here a few years ago. It feels like the kind of place I always imagined myself living, but never let myself believe I deserved. I also got a puppy, a corgi named Bilbo Baggins. He's the sweetest, funniest little guy, and my absolute pride and joy. He goes with me to the dog park bar, and somehow has his own little dog friend group. Kids aren't in my plans, so he's basically my son. Life hasn't been perfect. My dad passed away. My best friend moved across the country, and I haven't dated much recently. My friends tease me about being too picky. The truth is, I know what it's like to be with someone who might love you but doesn't like you. I'm not settling again. But even without dating, my life is full. My birthday is this weekend, and I'll be spending it in Paris at a Lady Gaga concert. This year alone, I've seen Sabrina Carpenter in Amsterdam, Taylor Swift and Springsteen, and other artists I like too. I traveled to Alaska and watched brown bears fishing in the falls. I have a Dungeons & Dragons group and a community that I love. Therapy taught me why I settled for someone who didn't value me. I unpacked a lot, including things I didn't expect. One memory still sticks with me. When we were planning our honeymoon to New Zealand, he insisted on me handling every detail, even though it was the location that he chose. He refused to drive there, so we had to book a guided tour with set dates. He pretended he wasn't able to take a day off work that we needed for flights just to see how hard I'd push to fix it. I ended up crying and begging him to talk to his boss. Then he admitted he actually had the day off all along. That was the moment my therapist and I talked about at length. I'd married someone who didn't take care of me. He liked to watch me struggle, and I kept trying to earn love that should have been given freely. Working through that changed everything. I'm happier now than I've ever been. If you're going through something terrible right now, I promise this, it's not forever. You can rebuild, you can grow, you can make a life that feels like yours again. You just have to keep moving forward, even if it's slow. Your life now sounds full, peaceful, and joyful. This is what self-respect and healing look like. You didn't just move on, you built something better. I'm glad the version of you in 2020 kept going long enough to meet the version that you are now. This update is a reminder that heartbreak can push you toward the life you were meant to have. The travel, the friends, the independence, the puppy, all of it came after letting go of someone who didn't deserve you. Beautiful recovery. Leaving someone who broke you isn't failure. It's the first brick in the life that you were meant to build. And every step she took on her own after that was proof that she didn't lose a husband. She found herself. Right. She traded a dead-end marriage for a new city, real peace, and a life that she designed with her own hands. That's winning. And the best revenge is simple. Live well, grow strong, and let the person who threw you away watch you shine from the sidelines. Am I the jerk for canceling our wedding venue a couple of months before the wedding day? About a year ago, I proposed to my girlfriend. I loved her deeply and truly believed we were about to build a life together. For a little while, everything felt solid and peaceful. Then the wedding planning started, and it felt like something completely different took over. She became fixated on the wedding in a way I didn't expect. Talking about it nonstop was fine at first. I knew it was a big deal to her. But after a while, it felt like the only thing she lived and breathed. And whenever I tried to give input, it felt like my ideas got brushed aside before I even finished the sentence. The only choice she let me make was my tux, and even that had to match her color palette exactly. Things took a sharper turn when her mom came to visit for a weekend. Her mother's taste is very different from mine. The ideas she brought in felt tacky to me, like they belonged to a completely different kind of event, but my fiancé loved all of it. Any attempt I made to talk to her about it turned into her saying that this was her big day and I needed to be more supportive. I reminded her that it was also my money being spent and that I should have had some say in how it was used. She didn't want to hear it. From there, the details kept drifting further away from what we agreed on. At one point, her mom suggested maroon tablecloths covered in floral patterns and sun designs. I felt like it was a funeral for a carnival worker. She even suggested we have beer kegs on tap, like we were hosting a backyard block party instead of a wedding. It wasn't what we pictured for our day, and it definitely wasn't something my family would appreciate. The real breaking point came when my fiancé and her mother decided to book a venue without asking me. They used my credit card to make the payment and chose a spot by a river instead of the church we had talked about for months. My family has gone to that church for generations. It's a meaningful place for us, and it's where we originally planned to get married. And the church option was actually cheaper except for the hall afterward. Instead, they booked a river venue that sits right next to a public area. Anybody walking by could wander up during the ceremony. The river attracts insects. The whole setup wasn't what we discussed, and they made this decision without me, using my card. She didn't even call me before doing it. I'd had enough. I spent a few hours dealing with my credit card company so I could cancel the charge. Then I told her clearly that she could either go back to the church like we planned, or she'd need to find someone else to marry. I wasn't going to be pushed aside on one of the most important days of my life, especially when I'm the one paying for almost everything. She cried for hours and stayed close to her mom while telling her version of the story. I know she made me sound like the villain, even though she acted behind my back. Now she's upset and saying I'm ruining everything. I'm trying to figure out if I handled this wrong. Am I the one who messed up by standing up for myself? Not the jerk. Maybe it's my values, but I think the wedding very much belongs to both of you. And if you're the one paying for almost everything, then you should absolutely have a say. She's acting like you're just supposed to show up while she and her mom make all the decisions. And using your credit card without telling you is a major boundary issue. It shows how she might treat shared money in the future. If she's already making big financial choices behind your back, imagine what that looks like later when the numbers get bigger. You don't have to end the relationship, but you two need a serious talk about respect and communication. Even if this is the first big incident, the way she handled it shows a mindset that could turn into a pattern if you don't address it now. Everyone sucks here. She shouldn't have used your card without permission. That's a big deal. But some of the things you said about her mom make it sound like there's more frustration under the surface. If she grew up around her mom's style, that might just be what she feels is normal to her. You don't have to like the choices, but shutting them down makes things worse. And insisting the wedding has to be at your family's church reads like you're pushing pretty hard too. The real issue isn't the venue. It's the two of you not listening to each other. If you want this marriage to work, you'll need to sort out how you handle decisions together. Update 1 day later. I read everyone's responses last night, and the part that stood out to me the most was how many people pointed out the financial red flags. Using someone's money for major purchases without talking to them isn't a small thing. It says something about trust and respect. That kept circling in my head, so I decided to look deeper into our finances this morning. I've been building a savings account for 8 years. It's my main long-term cushion. About a year ago, my fiancé had car trouble and needed quick access to funds for emergencies, so I gave her permission to use that account if she ever needed to. We also agreed that this account would help pay for part of the wedding. We set a clear limit on how much we'd take from it and agreed anything beyond that would come out of pocket. I don't check that account often. I put money in from each paycheck and let it sit. But after everything that happened yesterday, I logged in and found out she exceeded the limit we agreed on. And not by a small amount. Some of the transactions didn't make sense. Then I saw a recent transfer to her mother for almost $2,000. When I confronted her, she said her mom needed money to visit because she and her husband had a new business project and couldn't spend right now. That didn't sit right with me. Her parents are comfortable financially, and they aren't helping with the wedding at all. We've been covering everything. It didn't stop there. In another argument, she admitted she also paid for her parents' previous trip to visit us. She said it wasn't a big deal and that I didn't even notice, so it shouldn't matter. Hearing that made something in me shut down. I told her the wedding was off for now. I told her I needed time to think and figure out what this all means for our future. She cried and begged me to reconsider, but I held my ground. She's staying in a hotel with her mom tonight. We talked on the phone later, but we didn't get anywhere. I feel betrayed. I'm angry. For the first time since I met her, I'm not sure we're right for each other. I'll update if things change. Right now, I need space to process what I've just learned. This is more than a wedding problem. It's a trust problem. She didn't just overspend. She also used money you saved over 8 years and sent a big portion of it to her parents without telling you. That's a serious choice she made behind your back. Her saying, "You didn't notice, so who cares?" is one of the most alarming parts. Marriage means honesty about money. If she's dismissing your savings now, think about what life will look like during emergencies or big purchases later. You're doing the right thing by stepping back. Don't rush. Think long term. Booking a wedding venue with someone else's card is insane. That's not planning. That's swiping and crossing your fingers no one checks the statement. And acting like he's just supposed to smile through it? That's how you plan a meltdown, not a marriage. Am I the jerk for getting in a fight with my girlfriend on her birthday because she was picky with the food I cooked for her? I'm 29 male, my girlfriend is 27, and we've been together for 3 years. She had her birthday yesterday. I've done birthday surprises for her before, but this year I wanted to start the day in a simple way that felt warm and thoughtful. Something that said, "I love you," and I put effort in. I wanted to surprise her by waking her up to bed and breakfast on her birthday. For background, she's always been a picky eater. Not in the sense of refusing to try new foods. She'll try almost anything. The problem is that if the first bite doesn't spark joy or hit whatever emotional bar her brain sets for food that day, she won't finish it. When we first started dating, this caused some trouble. I was just learning to cook and trying hard to make meals she would enjoy. If one thing didn't meet her standards, she'd push the plate away with this disappointed look that made me feel like I handed her a bowl of gravel. After 3 years together, I've adapted. I know what she likes, and I'm a much better cook now. For the most part, we haven't had any major food issues in a long time. Yesterday, for her birthday, I got up early so I could surprise her. I decided to make breakfast burritos with sides of egg, hash brown, sausage, and bacon. I've made it for her in the past, and she says it's one of her favorite things I make for her, so I had no stress whatsoever. Everything was going well until I reached into the fridge and saw the milk. We only had 2% and no whole milk. She likes whole milk in her scrambled eggs because it makes them creamier. She mentioned this once early in our relationship, and it stuck with me. I ran out of whole milk the other day and planned to buy more, but I forgot. I was already in the middle of cooking. If I stopped, the surprise would be ruined. So I just used 2% milk instead, thinking it wouldn't be a big difference for her. Eggs are eggs. I kept going. I was incredibly wrong. I brought the tray into the room. I lit some scented candles she loves, put on our favorite show, and gave her the plate of food. Her face lit up. She sat up in bed and smiled like a kid on Christmas morning. Then she paused and stared at the plate. She asked if I had to run out and get whole milk because she noticed we ran out. I told her no, I used the 2%. She just sighed and her eyes started welling up. She said she couldn't eat anything that had egg in it now because she tried 2% eggs once when she was little and didn't like them. She didn't even take a bite to check if her adult taste buds disagreed. She pushed aside the burrito and only ate the hash browns, sausage, and bacon. I didn't want to make her birthday worse, so I stayed calm. I asked her to at least try one bite, just one. If she didn't like it, fine. But refusing to even try stung. She wouldn't budge. She said no, firm and final. I let it go because it was her birthday. We moved on. The rest of the day was okay. I kept the focus on making sure she felt celebrated. I didn't bring up the breakfast again. Things stayed fine until we were leaving her parents' house after dinner. Her dad had cooked. She said something along the lines of, "I'm glad we got to see you guys, and thank you, Dad, for cooking dinner, because I need at least one guy in my life that knows how to cook good food." And trust me, the tone was not playful, and she was staring straight at me with a serious face when she said it. It caught me so off guard and immediately frustrated me, So we got in a fight during the drive home and barely spoke for the rest of the night. I feel bad that we argued on her birthday, but I genuinely don't think I did anything wrong. I made a small mistake with the milk, but I still put effort into making her birthday morning special. She didn't have to tear me down in front of her family. She didn't have to weaponize something I clearly tried hard to do. So I want to know, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. She cried over milk. Actual tears over 2% milk from a 27-year-old adult? I know picky children less picky than this. She sounds incredibly childish and coddled. You woke up early, cooked the whole breakfast, lit candles, set the vibe, and she acted like you served her something she couldn't eat. If my significant other made the most burnt pancakes for my birthday, I'd still be honored that he got up and cooked for no reason other than I was born today 30 years ago. If I cried, it would be out of sentimentality for sure. This would be a relationship ender for me. She didn't even try the eggs. She went straight to, "This better be perfect or it's trash." And that little dig at her dad's house was meant to humiliate you. If she talks to you like this on her birthday, I can only imagine how she talks to you on a regular Tuesday. You're not the problem here. Bet you can easily find someone who would appreciate your efforts instead of acting like you ruined her life over eggs. A grown woman should know the difference between disappointment and disrespect. And a grown man should know when breakfast in bed is the sign that he deserves someone kinder. Am I the jerk for leaving my family without a turkey after my mom criticized my fiancé? I'm 29, male. A few weeks ago, I got engaged to my fiancée, Julia. I love her very much, and I'm 100% sure she's the one I want to marry. I've always been close to my mom, but sadly, Julia has never been her cup of tea. Julia is very career-oriented and cannot cook or decorate to save her life. My mom, on the other hand, prides herself on being a great cook and having the house perfect. In the past, she has expressed concerns that Julia and I are too different and that Julia won't be a dedicated wife and mother. I've always thought these criticisms were unfair and continued to pursue the relationship. We went to my family's house for Thanksgiving this year. My mom usually prepares everything herself. Strangely, when Julia called and asked if we could bring anything, my mom asked if Julia could make the turkey. As I mentioned, Julia has very little cooking experience and told my mom she was worried about ruining the meal. My mom told her she should just try and that she'd have to learn to cook at some point. Julia was stressed about making the turkey and has also been extraordinarily busy with work. Instead of cooking, we decided to pick up a turkey from Whole Foods. Julia was excited that she could contribute without the stress of potentially ruining the meal. When we got to the house, my mom asked Julia how she had prepared the turkey. Julia sheepishly admitted that she had purchased it from Whole Foods. My mom was furious. She said she trusted Julia to make the turkey and that she prides herself on serving a home-cooked meal to her guests. Julia apologized and explained that she just wanted to make sure the family had something enjoyable and that the turkey we bought would be better than anything she had tried to cook herself. My mom spent the next hour talking and whispering to her sisters. I pulled her aside and asked if everything was okay. My mom said she had asked Julia to make the turkey and that Julia couldn't even be bothered to try. She said this showed a lack of respect and an unwillingness to grow up. My mom then told me that she doesn't think Julia is the one for me and she's worried about Julia's ability to care for herself and our future kids. I was fuming. I told my mom that Julia is amazing and that her lack of cooking skills is not an issue for me at all. I said that if my mom couldn't respect my fiancé, then I didn't want to spend the holiday with her. My mom told me that Julia was the one who didn't know how to respect others and that I was delusional if I couldn't see that. I ended up taking the turkey and telling Julia we were leaving. We drove across town and enjoyed a wonderful night with her family. Julia and I are both devastated, but I've assured her that this is my mom's issue and not hers. About half an hour ago, I received a call from my sister. She said we ruined Thanksgiving by leaving and taking the turkey. I told her I didn't realize they'd want the turkey since my mom was so critical of the situation. My sister insisted it was a misunderstanding and that cooking means a lot to our mom because it's how she expresses love. She interpreted Julia's lack of effort as not making an attempt to bond and assimilate with the family. My sister is asking me to apologize, but I feel that we are the ones who are owed an apology. I will also note that my mom has never once asked me to make the turkey, and it seems like a double standard that she suddenly expects Julia to do it. It also feels like she's trying to turn my fiancé into someone she's not. Am I the jerk? My in-laws started to complain to my husband shortly after we were married about the things I didn't do or didn't do the way they wanted me to. He told them not to make him choose between his wife and them because they wouldn't be happy with the choice he made. OP needs to tell his mother the same thing. Not the jerk. It sounds like your mom is really on a power trip and can't stand that your fiancé has replaced her in your life. I love the fact that you took the turkey and then they complained. That's hilarious. Your family has very obvious double standards. Well done for calling them out on it, and do not apologize. Neither of you did anything wrong. My boyfriend grabbed a stranger's ice cream. We were out walking around this evening. He had mentioned wanting to get ice cream, but had not brought any money, and neither had I. We usually take a walk after dinner and do not buy anything during it unless we decide beforehand that we want to get something that night. As we were walking past a group of people, he made a sudden movement to the side and then started running in the opposite direction at full speed. It happened so fast that I had not seen exactly what he did. People were exclaiming things like, "Oh my gosh!" One guy shouted, "He took my ice cream!" That was when I realized what had happened. He had actually stolen this guy's ice cream on a busy street. I was absolutely shocked and mortified. Everyone around us had seen it happen or quickly heard about it. People were staring and pointing down the street where he was still running. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I apologized repeatedly to the man whose ice cream he had grabbed, then said I was going to go find him and got myself out of there. It was utterly humiliating. By the time I caught up, he had nearly made it back to the house. When I arrived a few minutes later, I found him crouched in the stairway, furiously eating the ice cream out of the cup. When he heard me coming, he scrambled, dripping ice cream everywhere. He looked like a deer in headlights. He literally left the cup on the stairs and ran away from me up to our apartment. However, I had the key, so he was just standing there when I got to the door. I, of course, demanded an explanation. He had the audacity to deny he had done anything. He insisted he did not know what I was talking about. I sort of lost it and started yelling at him. The cup was still on the stairs. His hands and mouth were covered in ice cream, and a dozen people had literally seen him snatch it right out of the guy's hand. What the heck did he mean by saying he didn't know? He then changed his story, saying it was just a joke. What? He decided to reenact a YouTube prank video on a random stranger? How is that even a prank? After I let us inside, I kept asking what made him think this was okay to do. He changed his story again. This time, he said he didn't know why he had done it and that it was just an urge. I did not even know what to say, so I told him I needed some time to myself. I'm seriously disturbed. He has no good reason for doing this. It's completely out of character for him. He's always been mild, reserved, and treats people, especially me, very kindly. He's the last person I would have thought would do something like this. What do I do next to figure out what this was about? How can I even know if he's being honest? Additional info. Last night, I asked him again what he was thinking. He said, "I don't know. I already told you." I told him I couldn't accept that answer because it wasn't a real answer. I explained that we needed to talk about it because after reading some comments online, I wanted to know if something was going on with him mentally. He said it was not. I started naming possible stressors like his job, family, or money, and he said everything was fine. To my knowledge, that's true. If something is going on, then he's hiding it very well. He was visibly annoyed by my questions, and when I eventually asked if he realized how bizarre his actions were, he snapped. "Who cares? Just stop bothering me. I'm busy." He was browsing Facebook. He refused to talk about it anymore after that, but he's been acting normal when talking about other topics. It's like he's pretending it never happened. If it had not happened, there would be nothing about his current behavior that seems weird. Now, I feel like I will seem crazy if I bring it up again. I don't know if I should just forget about it like he has or what. I'm still stunned and very confused. If he had a lapse in judgment and thought it was a funny prank, I feel like he would have been laughing when you found him and said something like, "Dude, did you see the look on their faces?" Instead, from the way you described it, he was furiously eating the ice cream he stole and ran away from you when he saw you coming. So it wasn't done as a joke. The way you wrote it makes it sound like he was manic, almost like an animal acting solely on instinct. He wanted ice cream that badly that he grabbed it out of someone's hand, ran home, and started shoveling it down greedily, only to run away from you when he saw you. That sounds so extreme that I don't even know what to say. I think he's probably embarrassed and doesn't want to talk about it. If it was a psychotic episode or something related to mental illness, I wouldn't expect him to recognize or understand it. You need to consider seeing a professional for an assessment, but it's important to approach this without being accusatory or making him feel like he's losing control. OP. Yes, the way you described it is exactly how it happened. He wasn't laughing at any point. When he was trying to convince me it was a joke, he sounded more defensive and panicked than amused with himself. Update. So I finally got an explanation from him yesterday. It turns out he was in a Discord server where the members dared each other to do outlandish things in public, things they would never normally do just to embarrass themselves. He told me that he left the group because the experience was really stressful for him. It wasn't exciting like he thought it would be when he joined. This was the first time he had actually taken one of the dares. He said that afterwards he just didn't know what to say and couldn't believe he had actually done it. He was extremely apologetic for acting like a lunatic and making me worry about him. We had a long talk about it last night, and I genuinely believe he regrets it. He understands what a stupid mistake it was. Did you actually see the Discord and the chats? Because this doesn't make sense. Usually with challenges and dares, there's a camera involved, or else how would the other members know that he did the dare? Your description of events didn't mention either of you having your phones out to record. If there are no videos being posted, and it's all based on the honor system that members did the dare, then either your boyfriend is very naive or something else is wrong. OP. He was on his phone during the walk. I didn't mention it in the OP because there was no reason to. Now I know he was recording in a non-obvious way. He never posted the video anywhere and it's been deleted. He also left the Discord the same night it happened. Honestly, Discord is a red flag. Emotionally mature, mentally healthy, responsible adults do not use Discord. Most of them don't even know what it is. This is like dating a dude who collects anime girl figures, then you act surprised when you find out he's a creep. Am I the jerk for no longer welcoming my mother-in-law in my home? I've watched my in-laws, including my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and her husband, talk badly about their own family for years. This includes her grandson, who is now an adult. I've typically responded by saying that such comments are inappropriate, walking away, or simply not engaging. I've also told my husband many times that if she ever speaks that way about our family, she will no longer be welcome in our home. For Thanksgiving, my mother-in-law is visiting us. She lives several states away, so we usually only see her once or twice a year. However, she's been discussing the idea of buying a house near us. My son is a teenager. While we were in the house, my son was downstairs in the basement running on the treadmill and talking to himself. He wasn't being particularly loud, but because the stairwell is open, we could hear him. My mother-in-law asked, "What is he doing?" I replied, "Talking to himself." She followed up with, "Why?" I explained, "Because it makes him feel good." Her response was, "He's weird." There was no joking or lightheartedness in her tone. It was straightforward and matter-of-fact. I immediately told her, "You're weird," and walked away. I went upstairs shaking, told my husband what had happened, and made it clear that she's no longer welcome in our home. This is my son's safe space. He spends all day, every day, masking and keeping it together when he's out in the world. If he wants to talk to himself in his own home, he should feel comfortable doing so without fear of judgment. If she feels this comfortable making a comment like that to my face, I can't imagine what she might be saying behind his back. My husband said he would talk to her. I told him that I wanted her to leave tomorrow. It was already dark, and since she doesn't drive at night, leaving immediately wasn't an option. He went and spoke to her, and later told me that she now realizes what she did was wrong, is sorry, and promises not to do it again. He added that no one had ever called her out on this behavior before and suggested we give her another chance. This is false. Every time she has made an inappropriate comment about other family members, I've told her it's unacceptable. My primary responsibility is to protect my kids, and I refuse to subject my son to her judgment in his own home. My husband insists that we discuss this immediately and that I will be willing to work through it instead of cutting her off entirely. I'm not willing to budge. I've told him that she's not welcome in our home until she's taken steps to address this behavior. If she wants to work on herself, come back later with a genuine apology, and demonstrate that she won't say things like this again, I'll happily reconsider. Until then, she's not welcome in my house. My job is to ensure my son's well-being, not to teach her manners. Am I the jerk for no longer welcoming her in my house? Not the jerk. You drew a line and your mother-in-law crossed it. You told your husband long ago that this was happening. Either he didn't believe you or he thought he could just talk you out of it. He still doesn't realize your kid comes first. Those aren't just words. There's meaning behind it that requires action, which means your mother-in-law gets out of your house in the morning. He should be thankful that you aren't insisting on right now. Am I the jerk for calling my mother a toddler and telling her I no longer trust her with my money? I, 19 female, went grocery shopping on Thanksgiving for the household, even though I couldn't really afford it. I operated under the assumption that my mother would reimburse me as she had agreed to before I left. I made sure to keep the total under $150, which was also part of our agreement. However, today, she gave me only a portion of that money. In the note she left me notifying me of the partial reimbursement, she implied that I had been lying about the cost in order to get more money out of her. I showed her my recent transaction history to prove I wasn't lying, but she accused me of misremembering what she had agreed to. She insisted, "I never said I would cover everything. I only said I would give you some money." It's important to note that my mother is convinced I'm lying about almost everything. This stems from a time when I was younger and had manipulated her a few times out of desperation. Back then, I was trying to hang out with my friends or look for extracurricular activities in the city since my school did not offer anything I liked. My mother was one of those crime statistics-obsessed parents who never allowed me to venture more than a mile away from home, no matter the time or day. As a result, my friendships were shallow because I never had the opportunity to form meaningful bonds outside the confines of school. While the financial loss here is relatively small, I'm a broke college student who relies on financial aid. My pay was docked this month because my boss was absent, so every dollar matters. Between my grandmother and me, we already cover the majority of household expenses. Losing even a little money leaves me in an even deeper hole. What upsets me more, however, was the fact that my mother went back on an agreement, especially given how judgmental she is of me for having done the same in the past. I confronted her about this, but she predictably launched into a tirade, claiming that I'm perpetually dishonest. For context, I haven't lied to her since the incidents I mentioned earlier. I told her it was unfair for her to judge me based on my worst moments. I also pointed out that it was unreasonable to continue resenting me for behavior that was developmentally appropriate for a teenager. Her reactions to my mistakes back then were wildly disproportionate to the offenses. For example, she would storm away, slam doors, refuse to talk to me for 48 hours, and even accuse me of wishing she hadn't been born when I tried to explain why I felt compelled to lie. I asked her if she would be upset with a baby for crying in public or a toddler for screaming or climbing something they're not supposed to. I told her that if she was too immature to understand why it was ridiculous to hold a grudge against her own kid for something that kids typically do, that was her problem, not mine. I added that I didn't care to waste my time trying to get back in her good graces. Finally, I thanked her for teaching me a valuable lesson, not to trust her with my money. She stormed off to her room and later texted me the following: "Do not text, call, or email me. I am 2. Toddlers are not parents." Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. OP, you called it exactly like it is, complete with a toddler-like tantrum in the end. I'm surprised that she didn't throw herself down on the floor wailing and having a full-blown temper tantrum. Do not trust her with anything at all. Why isn't she working? Why is grandma supporting her and basically enabling her? If anyone's the jerk, it's totally your mom. Not the jerk. Stop trusting her, period. Do not give her any money and insist on money up front when she asks you to go to the store for her. Buy your own essentials, of course, but nothing for her unless she gives you the money first. Pay for your own groceries so she can't throw that in your face too. Don't eat anything of hers. Am I wrong for refusing to have guests during my time off work? Over Christmas, both my girlfriend and I are off from the 24th of December to the 6th of January. Pretty much every day between Christmas Day and New Year's Day, we already have plans. We're seeing family separately on Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Then we're going away for 2 nights together. After that, we'll be spending New Year's Eve and New Year's Day with my girlfriend's family. This leaves me with just the 30th and the days between the 2nd and the 6th to relax. I mentioned to my girlfriend that since we're going to be busy all week, I'd need the last 3 or 4 days to just unwind and stay home. I told her I'd probably spend that time playing video games, reading, and watching TV. I also said that I'd be fine going out for a meal one evening, but I didn't want to do much else during those days. She said she understood. However, a couple of days ago, she told me her friend, who lives out of town, is coming to visit over Christmas and New Year. She said she invited her friend and her friend's boyfriend over for food, drinks, and game nights on the 2nd. She also mentioned that they're fine with staying over on the sofas. I asked my girlfriend why she hadn't bothered asking me if I was okay with it first. I explained that it's not fair to invite guests over without both of us agreeing. She said she didn't see the big deal and added that she hasn't seen her friend in a while. I pointed out that her friend doesn't need to stay with us since she's already staying with family nearby. I said I might be up for going out for a quick drink with them, but that's about it. I told her I didn't want a game night or any guests when I'd be drained and just wanting to relax. She said I was being unreasonable and insisted I should be fine with it since it's only one night. I stood firm and said no. I repeated that she should have discussed it with me before inviting them over. She said she didn't want to cancel, but I told her she would have to. I said she should let them know that plans have changed and they can't stay over. I added that we'd still be willing to meet with them for a drink. My girlfriend repeated that I was being unfair and insisted I should be okay with them staying. Am I wrong for refusing to have guests when I plan to relax? Never invite someone into your space without talking to others that share your space first. Not wrong. She's not having guests over, she's throwing a party. Who's going to clean up the mess they'll end up making? I would be so upset if my significant other threw a party without telling me. Am I the jerk for speaking on behalf of my fiance's kid? My fiance, 29 female, and I, 28 male, have been together for 2 years. For the most part, things are really good. She has an 8-year-old son from a previous relationship, and the dad isn't involved. Together, we are our own little family unit. The issue started with her son's recent birthday party. He's been having trouble in school and has become a target for bullying. My fiance and I have talked to the school about it multiple times, but they've only given us the same lip service. I suggested changing schools, but my fiance said no school is perfect. Her son wanted a small birthday party, nothing major. He just wanted to spend the day with us at a park. My fiance, however, made him invite his entire class and planned an elaborate celebration. Not a single kid showed up. It was just the 3 of us, sitting with trays of food and birthday decorations. The waiting was the hardest part. He's had rough days, but I've never seen him look so defeated. He was humiliated and it was hard for me to watch. I felt that something needed to be said. That night, my fiance and I had a conversation. I told her that I thought we should have respected what the son actually wanted instead of pushing for a big party. She responded by saying that I should be supporting her and that it's not my place to interfere with matters involving her son. She emphasized her son, which was a blow to me. I know I'm not his biological dad, but I am a consistent and important figure in his life. We've grown close over the years. I'm the one who has serious talks with him, the one he asks for advice, the one who drops him off and picks him up from school, helps him with homework, engages in his interests, and shows up for outings. I might not be his biological father, but I shouldn't be treated as if I'm an uninvolved bystander. My fiance was always popular in school and doesn't relate to what her son is going through. I understand what it's like to feel unwanted in a room and to hate being in the school halls. My fiance believes her son just needs to try harder to assert himself, but I think there's more to it than that. There's still some tension between us. Thanksgiving was awkward, which is ironic because it's supposed to be about thankfulness. Her son has even started to notice the tension and asked about it. My fiance feels that I overstepped, but I feel differently. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your fiance completely overlooked what her son wanted and made things worse for him. That poor kid's heart must have broken when no one showed up for the party. What was she thinking? She knew what he was going through and still went ahead with her own wishes. It doesn't matter if she was popular in school. Her son is different, and she needs to realize that before she pushes more of her misguided ideas on him. I'm also frustrated by the fact that she used the her son card. What are you then? If she doesn't think you should have any say about her son, then why is she okay with you being a father figure to him? It doesn't make sense and it feels unfair. In my opinion, she knows she messed up and is now trying to save face. It's disappointing because it shows a level of immaturity. She should have accepted that she was in the wrong instead of challenging your position in her son's life. And that poor kid, my heart goes out to him. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for him to experience that. My own mother stole my wedding dress and ruined it. When I was 16, my parents kicked me out. I had grabbed a few bags and left to live with my best friend, who was 16 male, and his parents at the time. Before I was kicked out, I was given my grandmother's wedding dress, which I wanted to wear as my own one day. Once I was kicked out, my mother and sister raided my room for whatever they wanted before I came back to collect the rest of my stuff. I did notice this at the time, but I didn't have the mental energy to fight about it. The wedding dress was one of those items taken from me in 2021. She used the excuse that the people I was staying with left their house unlocked and she didn't want it stolen or damaged, so she was going to get it cleaned and boxed, and she stated, "You shouldn't have it, it's a family heirloom." Today I got it back, after 2 years of fighting her for it. The threat of police and courts caused her to finally fold. She doesn't want legal trouble as it would make her perfect image crumble in front of her friends. I had to go to my grandmother to get a recording of her stating that it was mine. Keep in mind, my grandmother is 92 and has bad memory, yet she remembered that 2 years ago she gave it to me and remembers the entire day in detail. So anyways, after all of that, which I've left so much out, I opened the box and it's ruined. There's thousands of dollars worth of damage. She handed me the box with the dress after going on a rant about how she spoke to Grandma and anyone in the family who wants to use it should be allowed to, as that's what Grandma gave it to me for, was to be the keeper and lend it out when it was wanted. False. In the recording, I ask, "What did you do with your wedding dress? It's okay if you don't remember." She said, "What do you mean? I gave it to you." I told my grandmother, "I will be wearing this as my wedding dress," and she states, "I wish to see you in it again one day," as she most likely won't live to see the day that I'm married. Nowhere in the conversation does she mention the fact that I have to lend it out to others. In fact, she affirms that it's mine and mine alone. I told my sister after I've worn the dress at my wedding, I might lend it to her. This dress drama started because she wanted to clean and keep the dress from being damaged or stolen, only to steal the dress from me, clean it, and damage it beyond belief. My whole family, including my partner, believes that I'm being overly dramatic and how angry and betrayed I feel. However, I feel I have the right to be angry, as she stole and damaged my dress, then tried to turn it into some kind of communal wedding dress after it was specifically given to me. I called her, and she sounded like she was trying not to laugh, saying, "Well, that's the risk you take when getting an old wedding dress dry cleaned." I believe it's 100% her responsibility to fix it, so I will be demanding she gets it repaired at her cost. I'm so tired of being invalidated, but I need to know, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. If it has thousands of dollars worth of damage, I'd take her to court. Imagine you divorce your cheating ex. As a result, they show up in the middle of the night and key your car. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap, come have a listen. You won't believe what happens next.